So the first play is getting liberalism out of the system. So Washington, D.C., New York City, and Los Angeles, the three most powerful centers in America and in the world, are dominated by liberal people. There's no doubt about that. There's no question. It's not debatable. Liberal people dominate those places. Trump is trying to root that out. Huge undertaking. Here's an example. On Thursday, March 27th, the president signs an executive order about the Smithsonian Institution, which is the largest museum in the world. Obviously, everybody's heard about it. It has history, it has culture, it has just about everything, okay? Trump believes that liberals run the show and they are putting propaganda into the museum. That's what he believes. I haven't been there in a while, so I can't really weigh in on it today. But I do know that 90% of executives in Washington, D.C. are liberal. I know that for sure. Here's what the executive order about the Smithsonian said, quote, the vice president, in consultation with the assistant to the president for domestic policy, Lindsay Halligan Esquire, shall work to effectuate the policies of this order, the executive order, through his role on the Smithsonian Board of Regents, where J.D. Vance already is. He's on the Board of Regents. With respect to the Smithsonian Institution, its museums, education research centers, and the National Zoo, including by seeking to remove improper ideology and such properties, shall recommend to the president any additional actions necessary to fully effectuate such policies, unquote. Well, the words improper ideology, whoa. So every leftist in the country knows what that is, and they don't like it. Roll the tape.
So the idea that he's going after the Smithsonian is absurd. I mean, it's an amazing institution, the Smithsonian. And by the way, millions of people come there every year to look at it. And the fact that he wants to shut it down or cut it and gut it like he's doing to everything is, of course, on message for him, but totally against what we should be doing.
All right. So that's Congressman from New Jersey, Guttheimer. He's a Trump hater. He's actually running for governor of New Jersey. Anyway, Trump isn't trying to shut it down. Gut it? Maybe. You know, he does not want a left-wing culture on display in the Smithsonian Institution. Doesn't. Now, I think he'd probably be okay with a right-wing culture, and that might be problematic. So I'm following a story here. The other cultural change is how the federal government spends our money. And this is obviously, you know all about Doge and Musk and all of that. That's a cultural change because what we have at the federal level now is a massive amount of money going to certain entities, many of which are left-wing. It's undeniable. Trump is trying to shut that down completely. That's cultural. No money goes into trans this or gay that or any of that stuff, right? So this, again, has got the leftists furious. Go.
Doge did not exist 2 years ago. 19-year-olds were not raiding the Treasury 2 years ago. People who have no idea with medical background have not been hauling in and creating kangaroo courts for scientists to dismiss them 2 years ago. That started happening now.
All right, so Ms. Ocasio-Cortez is a socialist, and they don't want any cuts to any spending programs. They want more spending, all right, because that's how socialists get power and keep power. Keep feeding the trough of entitlements, throwing the federal dollars into certain precincts that will vote Democratic. That's been going on now since, I don't know, Woodrow Wilson, maybe? Been going on for more than 100 years. FDR had to do what he did. I'm not making an excuse for him, but he had to get the safety nets in there to deal with the Depression. But the Democratic Party is 100%. We don't want any cuts, except if it's the Pentagon or Trump's wardrobe or something like that. No, we want more. $36 trillion debt, let's get it up to 50. Okay, because if the capitalistic system collapses, which it will if the spending doesn't get under control, then socialism can come right in. PBS, NPR, hopefully they'll be defunded. Now, why do I say that? Let me explain, because this is personal to me. So I know all these people, and all of them, 100% of the people that I know in National Public Radio and PBS, okay, Public Broadcasting System, television, 100% are liberal. There's not one moderate. They're all left wing, so is the culture. So you walk in there, if they hire you and you're conservative, you're not going to be comfortable. Okay. So every year, my tax money and yours goes to fund these operations to the tune of $535 million a year. Now, when you're talking trillion-dollar budgets, but it's still $535 million a year, more than $1 million a day, right to New York, right to these lefties. Okay? Well, Donald Trump certainly doesn't want that to continue. Go.
Would you be interested in defunding and taking away taxpayer dollars to NPR and PBS?
Well, I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased, the whole group. I mean, a whole group of them. And frankly, there's plenty of, look at all the media you have right now. There's plenty of coverage.
So Republicans, of course, taking their cue from President Trump, are going after the funding. You're going to have a hard time because the Democrats want the funding, because PBS and NPR bolster the Democratic Party. This is political. So there were hearings today in the House and the Senate, and Congressman Pat Fallon from Texas asked the NPR CEO, Catherine Mayer, this question.
Ms. Mayer, NPR, you believe your reporters are fair? You said they're fair and they're working at it.
I believe that they work to be every day, sir.
They're non-biased. And yet you have the voter registration issue. I mean, we're all human beings. We're all going to see through the world through a certain lens. And are you aware of any Republicans, any registered Republicans in your newsroom?
I couldn't say registered, but I know we have conservatives in our newsroom, yes.
Okay, so the recent registration, when it was looked at, 87 Democrats and 0 Republicans registered.
I found that very concerning.
Yeah, sure, but you've done nothing about it, and it's been going on for decades. So I don't believe you're concerned about it. I believe you like it. The damage that the Biden administration did to the country, and I know this is a political question, but it has troubled me from the very beginning, seems to me to be incalculable as far as the Treasury is concerned, crime is concerned, social upheaval is concerned. Do you have any idea why Joe Biden opened that border for 3.5 years? Do you have any idea why that man did that?
No, I can only guess. And I've said many times, I worked for 6 presidents starting around Reagan. Even when Clinton and Obama took steps, as we discussed, to try to take action to secure the border, no one did more than President Trump. He was unprecedented at his success. We had the most secure border in my lifetime. But Joe Biden's the first president in my lifetime who came into office and unsecured the border on purpose. That wasn't mismanagement. It wasn't incompetence. He knew exactly what he was doing, along with Alejandro Mayorkas.
But there must be chat, though. There must be chat in Homeland Security and in the Border Patrol precincts about the why of all this. What did he think he was accomplishing?
I think they saw future political benefit and let millions of people into this country. Remember when he did everything to secure the border, what else did he do? He overturned the Trump census rule, which means millions of people released in sanctuary cities will be counted next census, which will lead to more seats in the House for the Dems. I think they saw a future political benefit by releasing millions of people in sanctuary cities in this country. That is my belief.
Final question. California has 50% of the undocumented migrants. Newsom is now backpedaling, as you know. But LA and San Francisco are still sanctuary cities. Do you expect anything to change in California?
I can tell you ICE is going to, we'll be going to LA and San Francisco very soon. In sanctuary cities, we can't arrest a bad guy in jail. We'll double the man force in those cities. But we're going to do our job, sanctuary or not. If you're a sanctuary, you want to step aside and watch us protect your communities, then have at it. Just don't get in the way. Don't cross that line of knowingly harboring, concealing illegal alien. Don't cross that line of impeding us, because there will be consequences. But we're coming. We're going to do this job. President Trump promised American people we're going to do this. American people given a mandate. This is the number one issue. We're going to keep President Trump's promise. We're going to be going to every sanctuary city and arresting public safety threats, because that's what the American people want.
All right. Unless the court, Supreme Court, says you can't do a certain thing, you're not going to defy the federal court order, correct?
No, we're not going to do that. We're not the Biden administration who ignored the courts on forgiveness of student loan. They told me he couldn't do it. He did it, and he fought them every step of the way on that. Well, no, this is a law and order administration. We're going to do the right thing.
Let's go to China. So China slapped tariffs on the USA Today. That situation seems to be deteriorating. Is it?
I think it is. And I know some will want to blame President Trump for that. I think this is all Xi Jinping. This challenge that's being faced by the entire world. And by the way, it's connected to Russia. We shouldn't forget for a second that the primary consumer of Russian energy today is the Chinese Communist Party, getting discounted crude oil and gas out of Russia. China is a huge beneficiary of this war continuing in Ukraine, in Europe. But I think it's deteriorating because Xi Jinping now believes that he's got a place where he can actually exert influence and shape things in a way that his predecessors didn't believe. The old, this is a rough translation from Mandarin, Bill, you'll have to forgive me, but the old motto was hide your power and bide your time. And Xi Jinping's no longer hiding his power. He's showing it full force, and it's going to require a real American response.
Well, when you say a response, everybody gets nervous. Is that going to be a military response? Can't do that, right?
Well, Xi Jinping's we're not going to attack China militarily.
Right.
But Xi Jinping is already running into ships in the South China Sea. He's
doing that for
circling.
the last 5 years, though. See,
Right,
as
so
long as he
that-
doesn't touch Taiwan, then
That's right.
the U.S. is going to allow some of that to happen. But I see it this way, and maybe I'm wrong. I think that China's economy is really wobbling, just like Russia's. But China is more intense. And she, like Putin, probably at this point in history, would want a better economic situation. And he would be willing to deal for that. Am I wrong?
I think you're wrong. I think Xi Jinping has concluded that this is the moment. So you've heard some of our generals talk
Right.
about 2027, and I can't put a marker down as for time, but I think Xi is willing to sacrifice an awful lot of his economy to gain a global advantage, to get closer to the political hegemony that he seeks. It's going to be really hard. I agree. They've got huge long-run demographic problems. Their real estate industry is way worse than anybody even knows, over-levered. So there are many, many challenges. But I think Xi has concluded that it's no longer time to supplicate to the United States on the economic front. And so he's going to push and push and push until the United States pushes back. And I think you see President Trump
Well, he
trying to
pushed
use
back.
tools to do that.
25% is a pushback. But if your opinion is correct, why didn't she move under Biden, who is extremely weak? Why did he live 4 years of Biden and he didn't really do anything that catastrophic?
Yeah, I don't think, Bill, I don't think for a second he's going to invade Taiwan. The military invasion there, I think he believes is unnecessary. His view is he's going to get Taiwan through propaganda politics, same way he took Hong Kong, right? Force choke them off, make their economy more difficult. And eventually the people will come to see that, hey, you know, what's that? Why fight this? And so I think this is a longer march for him. And I think he made real progress on that in the Biden administration, in the Pacific Islands, in Africa. You saw what's gone on in Panama under President Biden, where the Chinese got a foothold on our doorstep. I think this is a determined strategic effort, not a
Okay.
Xi Jinping military takeover. He knows he can't actually win that. The United States would, in the end, crush him.
To watch the full episodes of the No Spin News, visit BillO'Reilly.com and sign up to become a premium or concierge member. That's BillO'Reilly.com. Sign up and start watching today.